Good morning. It is 5:45 a.m. on March 7th, 2021. Welcome. This is part two of my presentation that I call the 5-year plan to reverse engineer the economy. And I kind of, when I think about that title, because what I'm going to talk about in the next half hour is really part of being able to accomplish economic stability and what I call psychological and social freedom, and that's fellowship. So I laugh at myself because it sounds like it's so intellectual and it's so complicated and contrived, but really it's just about relationships. It's just about fellowship. And again, I'll emphasize fellowship is not intended to be a religious term. It's not intended to be anything like that. It's just a word that describes 3, 4, 5 people coming together and just being honest with themselves. Some of the feedback I've been getting recently is one of the biggest inhibitors to achieving that kind of equality, that social economic equality, is that really executive leaders, whether it be in the corporate world or the government, the political world, the biggest barrier, the biggest challenge is just being authentic. That's a big risk. It's a big risk for someone with power. Might be a big risk, especially with someone who is addicted to power, to take that risk to be real, to be authentic, and to practice conversations with emotional intelligence. So there's been a lot going on this week. I've been in a conversation where I started talking about reverse market mechanics and time banking to someone who's very adept at business and marketing. And she gave me a reaction that I do get commonly, and that is, it really sounds too good to be true. And the reason I believe that is because we just don't have those relationships yet. So what I'm going to be talking about in the next half hour, fellowship, is really what we do. It's the lifeblood of everything. Later on, I'm going to go into a little more of the mechanics, more of how to administer this type of work. But really, it just takes showing up and being real and exploring your passion with other people who are on the same level as you. So really achieving this, in my mind, to me, is very easy, but it's not simple. I'm reversing that now. It's very simple. Achieving economic equality is very simple, but it's not easy. And that requires showing up, being real with each other. And I think the real work gets done behind closed door in small, intimate groups. So yeah, there's a lot going on as far as making the film. We're talking right now about creating kind of a union for internet content providers, and that's really exciting to me. And this idea is going to play a major role in that. But really, it comes down to, what is the quality of your relationships? I have to go back to something Tony Robbins always used to say, is that the quality of your life is the quality of your relationships, and that is what fellowship is all about, and why we're really just focusing on that so much this year. That's really where it's at. So I am going to pull up my slides here, and we're going to talk a little bit about fellowship. All right, so let me go back to my Zoom. I'm going to go share screen. Okay, and we're going to go to 2020, and that is, 2021, and that is fellowship establishment. Okay, that's my other presentation we're doing, and we're going to go to slideshow. Okay. So in 2021, this year, the focus is fellowship establishment. And I'm just waiting for my slideshow to come all the way up here. It's still thinking. So while it's thinking, hopefully I don't lose the video at this point. There we go. So yeah, so as I had covered in the last presentation, 2021 is really just about fellowship establishment. There's no big plan for expansion and growth this year. We've got to lay the foundation, and that foundation is establishing the 32 core fellowship members who really see the vision of this, or who really have had experience now with what this can be. Because the philosophy has always been in business: go big or go home. And I think we've exhausted that route. Quite frankly, I think we've exhausted that route. That kind of competitive mentality, I think, has played itself out, and it's starting to kind of tear down what already exists. So our philosophy is go deep with the relationships, dig a little deeper. All we're looking for from our member owners is just to deepen average 2 relationships. That's what sets off the 2x2 trend. And that's what makes this grow quickly and exponentially. But we're not looking for that kind of growth here in this first year. We really want to emphasize the value and the importance of fellowship. Without fellowship, there is no time bank. Without fellowship, there is no reverse market mechanics. So what have I learned so far? I wrote down on here, what have we learned? But this is what I have learned. And this is something to kind of help you to start thinking in terms of forming a fellowship or initiating a fellowship. But what I have learned is that a consistent fellowship will include 3 to 5 members. And my opinion on that is that 3 is a good therapy session. You get a lot done as far as understanding what's going on with you intrinsically. And you express a lot in the trust. The trust is deeper with 3. When you get to 4, you still have that element of trust, and you're able to get things done. You start to accomplish more tangible goals. Once you get a 5th member in, there's great diversity, but normally at some point, one of those members kind of feel a little left out, like the 5th wheel, literally, and they feel encouraged to maybe start something new or to break out and do their own thing. And that's a good thing. That I encourage that. So, this is not, my experiences may have nothing to do with your experience of a fellowship. You might have a fellowship of 9 or 10, and that's perfectly great. There's there's little friction there. This is what I have found over these past 2 years, especially, where I've participated in groups of 20 people. I've participated in groups of 10 people. I've participated in groups consistently of 2 people. But as far as consistency is concerned, that 3 to 5 feels good. It feels right. And it feels like everybody's being heard. It feels like you're being productive, and it feels like you can focus on what is relevant to you and helps you move forward. So the success of this program is initiated by participating and initiating fellowship. So, using myself as an example, I might not be a great example. I'm establishing fellowships all over the place. I'm currently involved with what I would consider 9 or 10 fellowships at the moment. But really, the success of this initiative is really driven by participating in one fellowship and then initiating a fellowship. So, in the fellowships that I participate in, it helps me to practice a lot of skills, collaborative skills, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. But the fellowship that I have initiated, especially as far as this initiative is concerned, is our core fellowship. And I'll talk to you about our core fellowship here in a little bit. But that's kind of where it helps to kind of get your head wrapped around the fact that it really starts to hit the ground running. You hit the ground running with this when you are actively participating and initiating into fellowships. One you participate in, and another where you're initiating it, where you're creating the content or you're facilitating. And that's how you initiate the 2x2 trend. Again, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16. Fellowship hours, the time you spend in fellowship, which is creditable, and I'll mention this hopefully a couple of times throughout these presentations, is every hour you spend listening to me is creditable hours as a service provided in our time bank. So any time you spend in fellowship is a creditable hour. Anytime you spend in service is creditable hours. So when you're developing those relationships within the fellowship, you'll be getting more opportunities, or you'll be attaining more opportunities for service. To give you an example, from our core fellowship, my friend Marta Reese and I, we participate regularly in the Collaborative Innovation Institute's initiatives. We're making a documentary film right now as well. So we're racking up so many service hours just working on that documentary film. So that's exciting, and that's that's where our value in the bank is starting to grow. My friend Nefertiti, who I'll show you a picture of as well too when we go through to our core fellowship. She and I are co-founders of a group called Not on My Watch Productions, and we are in a play together where we tour around different areas of New Jersey currently. I'm hoping we'll expand that, but we do a play about addressing the issue of suicide and bullying. So so the entire cast is a member of are members of the time bank right now. So all of the hours that we spend rehearsing, all of the hours that we spend writing, rewriting, when we're in meetings, planning meetings, everything that has to do with the production, we reserve service hours for, creditable service hours for. So the only barrier to that, or the only the only footnote I'll add to that, is anything that you do really is potentially a creditable hour, just as long as you're not getting paid for it. So that's really kind of the one thing we look for, is that to stay within the ethical boundaries of what we're trying to establish here. It's something that you're not being paid for. So you're creating service hours between other members within the time bank, and potentially time bank members all over the world, through the Our World system or the timebanks.org system. So your fellowship is successful. In my definition, your fellowship becomes successful once they meet about 20 hours over the course of the year. So a lot of people, they're in a hurry and they want to see results really fast. And the thing is, they lose sight of the fact that they are accomplishing so much just by showing up. Now, when you do show up, I think it's important to really address what is your personal barrier, what is your personal goal, what is your personal mission, and take a tangible step towards that. But your fellowship is successful if it meets just for the 20 hours. That's the work. That's all you need to do to be able to accomplish $1 million in return within an expanding regenerative economy. So I don't want to be misinterpreted. Right now we have to establish the expansion of the regenerative economy, but all you have to do really is provide 20 fellowship or service hours. So for instance, our core fellowship, we meet 3 hours a month. So 2 times a month for an hour and a half. 3 times 12 right there is like 48 hours right there. So it doesn't sound like much, but when that is compounding upon itself with all of the members, contributing to their fellowships, contributing to service, that's 20 hours per member that's taking out of the extractive economy and now put into our regenerative economy. So that's why we really pay attention to the compounding factor of hours. And that is what will lend itself to the compounding of financial return, of liquid capital. So, so if you're meeting consistently and you're getting close to that 20-hour mark, celebrate. You're accomplishing something. And if you're in a group of 3 people, That's 60 hours that's being transferred from one economy into the other. So that's exciting to me, and that's how you can kind of gauge your success, even if you feel like you're going nowhere. And that's a personal journey, I believe. Once you cross that 20-hour mark, that's how you know that you've accomplished something significant. All right. So there's three types of fellowship. At least three types of fellowship that I feel productively moves this initiative forward. And this is our core fellowship here. There's me on the top right there. The top left is Marta, whom I've discussed earlier here in this presentation. So she is with the Collaborative Innovation Institute.org. And we'll talk about some of those principles of collaboration and how they really kind of help set you up for success within a fellowship. Down on the bottom right there is Nefertiti. She is my my colleague with the theater efforts, the theatrical efforts that we do. And down on the bottom left there is Parmjit Nahil. She's part of our core fellowship and been instrumental in bringing kind of like the structural, technical, organizational skills to our core fellowship and really helping us move forward as an organization. So that's our core fellowship. So the first fellowship I kind of talk about is a fellowship about fellowship. And that's really where you come together and you have intentional dialogue. It's kind of like really just getting to know each other, expressing what your needs and what your desires are, and how you can productively as an individual express yourself and express the tangible steps to kind of reach the next level that you're looking for as an individual. So sometimes you get together with other people, you don't know them very well, and it's just a matter of being honest, being authentic. There's no real agenda in a fellowship about a fellowship. You just kind of, you can use skills and different techniques, but it's really just about finding yourself. And I think we need to take the time to do that. And a fellowship about a fellowship where you get together, you're not quite sure where you're going yet, but you talk about it and you figure it out. This is something that is important to the growth of the Karmic Margin Call project and the time bank, the virtual services time bank. And that is regional focused fellowships. This is where we get to really track how this initiative is expanding. So really what a regional focused fellowship is really just people getting together in a community and addressing either personal needs or community needs. And they identify themselves as a regional fellowship. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the efforts that I'm participating in the Phoenixville, Pennsylvania area, which is probably about 10 minutes away from where I live. So I'm getting involved locally. And also, as far as our tracking system and the EPE numbers, EPE stands for Equal Partnership Economy. We assign an EPE number to our contributing members. And part of that EPE number is identifying location so that we can identify, what areas of the country, what areas of the world where this idea is developing or where in the world this idea is underdeveloped. So we'd like to track our members as far as region to really be able to track growth and to strategically plan how to establish fellowships in different regions. And then there's niche-based fellowships. Those really can be about anything, really, but there's a specific focus to those fellowships. There is a goal that you're looking to attain, or there's a specific area of focus, and that's up to the member. That's up to the initiator to really determine what the purpose of that fellowship is, and to dedicate those hours towards accomplishing maybe a specific goal. So I like to say the first thing I like to encourage people is, what are you passionate about? Follow your bliss. I'm particularly passionate about inspiring artists, teachers, and entrepreneurs coming together. I think the initiative to produce a play and talk about suicide and bullying, that's a niche-based fellowship. So that's really up to you. And I think the focus of our core fellowship, the four of us here, is to put our business plan in action, to start getting the ball rolling in being able to redirect $1 trillion of liquid capital into this time banking initiative. So when we talk about niche-based fellowships, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the specific focus on how we grow our time bank. All right, so if you'd like to interact with, without joining yet, or if you just want to interact about this material, I encourage people. We do have a Facebook group, but I encourage people to join Meetup.com, and we're at Meetup.com/karmic margin call. And I'll move my. I'm not sure if my box is right there in front of that, but I think it's a very good social media outlet to start talking about ideas. And the purpose of Meetup is to create events, or to create events where you can meet. It's usually in person, but because of COVID right now, a lot of it is all virtual. But we can talk about it in an online forum, and we can talk about discussing virtual meetings right there, and we can schedule it right there on the Meetup site. So if you want to connect with us and you want to start exploring this idea of fellowship, I encourage you to join Meetup, and look for us at meetup.com/karmic margin call. So fellowships about fellowships. We're going to talk about that first. So again, I will re-emphasize that the key to success to that is participating in a fellowship and then initiating your own fellowship. And so when you first start out initiating a fellowship, you might have 2 or 3 people that you really resonate with, and you're not quite sure what the focus is, or what the focus should be of your fellowship. So form a fellowship about a fellowship and start talking about it. And what we do in our core fellowship is that we rotate facilitators. So I just introduced you to Marta, Harmjit, and Nefertiti. Again, we meet twice a month, and we rotate facilitators. A new person every rotation facilitates based on the area of focus they would really like to delve into. So we all take turns doing that. And in that time, what I've learned as a participant is that you can practice these really deep principles of communication. I'm going to introduce you here to the 6 principles of collaboration that are very, very valuable. And from my personal experiences in being in groups, being in what I call fellowships, you get to practice these. And these are the principles that really move you forward towards tangible goals within a group setting. So as a participant, I practice generous listening. So that is an art in itself, being able to really just sit, be present, take in all this information, let it wash over you, let what resonates resonate, let what doesn't resonate or what triggers, feel it, and be able to have intelligent conversations about that. And I think you can really only have an intelligent conversation through generous listening first. Curiosity. This one's been a big one for me this week. So I have found that the ability to be curious, or cultivating curiosity, really helps you get past those communication barriers. There's this Taoist belief that if you approach something like a question and not a problem, it's easier to transcend. So this practicing of curiosity, questioning, really helps to kind of ease up any tensions that are happening, especially with people who are getting together and are both committed to curiosity, learning what they don't know. Coachability. So everybody's a teacher. Everybody has something to teach you if you are curious enough to allow that process to manifest itself. Everybody's my coach. Everybody's a teacher, and I learn something every time I practice generous listening and I'm curious. So we have a passion for bringing in educators into this effort. And part of that process is just being coachable, allowing them, to be able to teach or to share what it is they have to share without any emotional resistance, giving them the space to be able to do that. So I've been really enjoying being coached and finding some of my own triggers through that process. So those are the three principles that I have really been really focused on as a participant. That's not to say you don't experience all six of these as both a participant and an initiator, but for me, that's where I've kind of found a sense of ownership of the principles. Now, as an initiator, to initiate, you can practice committed speaking. I mean, these videos that I do every month about the 5-year plan, the videos that I'm starting to do about the certification program, about the 3 roadblocks of socioeconomic equality. These are all my efforts for committed speaking from the heart, speaking with an intention of action. So yeah, when you initiate a fellowship, that can be your space to to really kind of commit to what it is that you're speaking about, that you are intending. Mutuality. Yeah, I mean, that's really both participating and initiating, but mutuality is how do you give and take? How is everybody being served? Allowing everybody to practice all 6 of these principles. Again, rotating facilitators really helps to establish mutuality as well. So yeah, that's important, is that all needs are being met. So mutuality is really that process of giving and taking. And I think that is really the lifeblood of our time bank as well, too, of what we really truly intend to be, an equal partnership economy and energy awareness. Yeah, energy awareness could probably be placed under both sides, to tell you the truth, participating and initiating. But what comes up for me as far as energy awareness is that it's emotional intelligence, identifying and cultivating emotional intelligence, and that's, I think, where things really start to move forward, and how I hope that we're eventually going to get into these conversations with executive leaders and help cultivate the safe space where they can be honest with themselves, and then with their constituents. So fellowships can also explore potential niche-based fellowships. So as the fellowship about a fellowship evolves, you might carve out a specific niche for yourselves. Okay. So talking a little bit about regional fellowships next. So here is the logo for the Phoenixville Area Time Bank, patimebank.org. I am a board member of the Time Bank. It's a nonprofit in the Phoenixville area, and I am very active in the community there. I'm very active with the Transition Town community as well too. So I encourage our members to start exploring what initiatives are available already in your region. Maybe there is a time bank already in your region. Maybe there is a transition town effort already in your region. There's a lot of exciting things happening. And I think it's very important to get involved with what's going on locally. I think that's how we also grow. That's how we grow globally, by getting involved locally. So think globally, act locally is the saying, the way it goes. But yeah. My role in our community with the Phoenixville Time Bank and the Phoenixville Transition is tuning into what the individual's priorities are. Especially with the Time Bank, one of the questions I'm vigilant about asking myself is, now what does each member of the board really want out of this? What is rewarding for them as individuals? So So it can help to start bring the executive organizational dryness of it into a place of life, of true interdependency. Um, so yeah, so I ask a lot of questions about my colleagues in these initiatives about what's important to you. There's so much going on, but what is important to you? What's important to you first? And one of the things that we're starting to explore here in the Phoenixville community, which is something that I'm personally taking on, is our relationship with social media, the vices and the virtues. So we're going to be talking soon about our experiences on social media and what have been some of the good things about it, what have been some of the negative things about it. I'm encouraging people to watch films like The Great Hack and The Social Dilemma, and talking about how do we use this technology more as a tool and less of an addiction is what keeps coming up for me. And that's one of the conversations we're going to have locally. So start a regional fellowship about a fellowship. And that is what is being established in Phoenixville. We do a monthly fellowship circle. We have a different topic every month. The first topic was how do we reunite the country? The second topic was how do we express care, or how do we give care in an honest way? Just this past month, it was Black History Month, and we did a fellowship circle about building trust. How do we do that? And again, coming up here in March, we're going to be doing social media, talking about social media. So it's a fellowship about a fellowship, all kinds of different topics. Just trying to create the space to start the conversation and allow others to do the deep dives where they want to do the deep dives. You can explore potential niches. Again, all of those topics that I talked about month by month, they're potential niches. And yeah, there's the opportunity always to go deeper. The Transition Town team is developing a lot of wonderful niches around gardening, ecology, intentional dialogue. So there's all of these niches starting to emerge just from that organization alone. So it's exciting to me to explore what's going on in our region. And again, I encourage you, and this is an opinion. This is not a law, or this is not a bylaw or anything like that. But my opinion is keep it small, 3 to 5 people meeting consistently. I think the larger groups might meet more sporadically, but I think if you want to have a group or a fellowship that really gets things done regionally, keep it small to 3 to 5 people, meet once a week, meet every 2 weeks or whatnot. And what you lose in girth, you gain in containment. So for those regional fellowships where you have a specific niche, or you want to move something forward, you can do those deep dives with 3 to 5 people. It's very difficult to go deep and be very productive in big groups. And again, participate with your local organizations. Check out what nonprofits resonate with you in your area. See if there's a time bank or a transition town in your area. So that's those are some of the things that you can start thinking about if you are curious about establishing a regional fellowship around this initiative. So identify common concerns with individuals in the region. So have those discussions. Talk about, again, goes back to the first point. What are the individual's priorities? And find the common ground. Find the common ground. Okay, so a little bit about niche fellowships. Identify a topic. So I'm gonna speak more in terms of being specific. So I'm identifying the topic. I've written a business plan that this time bank is based on. It's how to generate $1 trillion in revenue that is divided equally amongst all of our member owners. So that's the topic. The topic is how do we bring the time banking economy into the extractive economy and start to equal things out. That's the topic I'm going to talk about in the next few minutes as I identify a topic. Create a SMART goal. And SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-based. I'm so used to saying time-based. Yeah, so the specific goal this year is to establish 32 core fellowship members, leadership members here in this upcoming year. So that's specific, that's measurable. I believe it's very attainable. I'll talk a little bit more about the 2x2 trend in the next segment, but it's attainable because it comes back to this topic of fellowship. The deeper the fellowship, I believe the more powerful and the more opportunity there is for exponential growth. It's attainable because when you're really focused on your primary relationships, you're focused on two partners, you can address what's really getting in the way of expanding. We're going to have a conversation about this later today with my core fellowship. It's attainable because I'm starting to think less of what is the information I have to give to help you feel confident in this time bank. I'm going from that to what experiences do we have to engage in together in order for you to take ownership of this time bank. So that's really, I think, the mentality is going from being an explorer, trying to figure out what it's about, to that moment where it clicks that you're an owner, that you own this. You are a partner, an equal partner in a banking system. So that's why I believe it's attainable to get to that 32 by the end of the year. Relevant. Yeah, that's what's relevant right now. Yes, I'm presenting all kinds of material about how to reverse the economy, how to really change things on a big global social scale. But at the moment, that's not very relevant. I mean, it's something that we're going to be at probably in 4 to 5 years, maybe sooner. But the relevance right now is what's going on right now between you and me. What's going on in the small group. And then again, it's time-based. We're giving ourselves a year. We're at about 5 consistent core fellowship members now. I'm talking very seriously with about 7 or 8 more. So probably by the next time I do this, we're going to have a few more. As I encourage our core fellowship members to have those deep dive conversations, I can only see it exponentially growing from there. But yeah, so the goal as far as being time-based is that we want to go from 4 to 8 in about 3 months, then 8 to 16 in the next 3 months, and then 16 to 32 within the last 6 months. So that's that's the time-based portion of our SMART goal as far as the business plan. So we want to create mutuality through these 3 questions. So the first question is, what do you have to share about this topic which may not be understood? So as far as attaining 32 partners, core fellowship members by the end of this year, what I think is not quite understood yet is that it really is about fellowship. This is what makes it happen. I talk a lot about mechanics. I talk a lot about finances. I do a lot of numerical wizardry, if you will. But really what it's about is it's about the one-on-one and small group relationships and addressing personal concerns, addressing personal needs on an emotional level. I think once that is understood, that's going to help us reach our 1-year goal here. How do I envision each member supporting the SMART goal? So I'll go back to our core fellowship. Marta and I have been meeting regularly about this for the past 3 or 4 years. We have about a 14-year relationship at this point. She supports the goal by continuing to bring relevance to artists, bring relevance to business owners, and bringing the collaborative aspect to it. So she really helps establish that, from many different angles. And she's instrumental in inspiring me about creating the film about this. Nefertiti is really, really great interpersonally. She really brings a lot of depth to everything that she does. And she provides rich experiences to the core fellowship on an emotional level and on an insightful level. And Parmjit, who I've introduced you to earlier today, she really brings a lot of structural, structural knowledge, structural integrity to it. We have a member that she introduced to our core fellowship. We're actually 5. And I'm not going to say too much about her because we're still exploring the relationship here, but there's so much richness going on as far as really foreseeing the legalities and foreseeing the organizational structure of what this can be through Parmjit's efforts. So yeah. So what is the next step? What can I do in the next 24 hours or less to create forward movement? Oh boy. What am I not doing in the next 24 hours to try to move this along? Well, one thing I'm doing is I just had a wonderful conversation with Amelia Duran, who established an initiative called the Porthole to Justice, which really addresses the issue of human trafficking and child abuse. And we're starting to talk about creating kind of like a union for artists and online content providers. And if we are able to kind of merge that system with that idea for a union, I think that's exciting to me. There's a lot of potential. So what I would like to do in the next 24 hours is talk to Marta about that and maybe having a three-way conversation about that, since that's another passion of Marta's as well.